Amazon Game Studios' New World may be the most exciting MMO of 2021, and in this video I'm going to tell you why. And it's not just because it's probably the only big MMO coming out in 2021, but you know, that is a factor. Before I talk about reasons to be excited, let's talk about what it actually is. It's an open world MMO set in an alternative history 17th century, and the game has a mainly action combat focus, which is sort of like a toned down Dark Souls, if you will. There are no classes in the game, it's actually your weapons that you pick and choose to wield that give you your abilities. Now, these weapons can range from great maces to muskets, and when you pick your weapon, you can sort of level up that weapon skill. So you'll be able to get better using hatchets and get better skills or healing staff or what have you. In the game, you will be able to toggle on and off PvP, which is a system that was implemented only relatively recently or towards the end of the development. Initially, the game was going to be complete open world, full PvP, etc., but that has since been changed. And that toggle is probably for the best, but because the game wasn't designed with that in mind, there are possibly some issues that might come from that. However, in recent weeks and months, they have actually been adding things to complement this system. Recently, for example, they announced that they would be adding duels to the game, and not just duels, you'll be able to do like a group of 5 versus a group of 5 duels, which could open up the possibility of maybe doing competitive play, maybe unofficial tournaments and that kind of thing. In the game, there is instant sieges. Now, this is a system where 50 versus 50 players participate, but it's where there is a timed event and only then can a fort or whatever it is be attacked and defended. That does help with, you know, maybe giving people their lives. You're not likely to be called upon at 3 a.m. in the morning if you play in the correct area that your server is in, for example. The downside is obviously you take away a little bit from the world feeling a bit more like lived in because it's instanced and it really has the outcome of who controls that territory. But I think that's just a minor thing. There's PvP in the game, which I think is actually capped at 5-man PvE. There's the thing called arenas. Don't be confused. These arenas are actually PvE arenas where basically various monsters and creatures are summoned. There is obviously open world PvE as well. There is also the usual stuff like crafting, and they recently announced that fishing will be added into the game along with all the usual kind of crafting. Now, crafting is getting a bit of a rework because it seemed that a lot of the PvE drops were just way better than the crafted drops. Obviously, that will be a balance that gets changed over time. And the question is, why even be excited about the game? One reason to be excited that it is Amazon backed. Now, normally I wouldn't get excited about who makes the game, but in this case, Amazon having such financial backing and the desire to get into this sphere is actually quite exciting. Yes, they don't have a track record here. They are pretty much new to the scene. I think they might have developed maybe one little game in the past, but you know, they are new to game development and they are new to MMO development. And you know, they have the financial backing, but it's going to be interesting to see how they actually cope with making an MMO. And I do think they obviously want it to be successful, not just because of New World. They also have the Lord of the Rings license, and there is an MMO scheduled to be made for that, which is actually currently in development. I would not be surprised if they are learning lessons from New World and will be applying that to the Lord of the Rings MMO. Now, the game developers do seem to be pretty invested in this. They are making a lot of changes from the preview event that happened at the end of August. They are making consistent updates, and you can tell that whilst the game's not going to be drastically different from when the preview event happened, it is going to be a tighter game. One way or another, things will have changed. Yes, they're not going to have completely changed the continent and the whole feel of the game, but they will be tweaking it and it will be improved from then. For me, one of the most interesting things is actually the action combat. And yes, whilst lots of MMOs have maybe dabbled in action combat abilities and stuff like that, maybe like dodging, you know, Guild Wars 2 had dodging, Elder Scrolls has like, you know, left click attack. This kind of like action combat that is sort of inspired by like Dark Souls, I don't think we've necessarily seen in a proper AAA MMO. So for me, it's exciting. I would maybe like to see more games take this form. I am personally a little bit fatigued by the classic tab targeting of World of Warcraft, so this kind of combat is one reason to be excited, and I think it might push the genre forward. Now, I joked at the start saying that this game is probably the only one coming out in 2021, but in actual fact, for a budget this size, is probably true. The other games that we're looking in 2021 that might actually come out, as far as I can think of, we've got Core Punk, which is like an isometric top-down view of an MMO. We also have Crowfall. You might be interested in those two games, but they're not, I think, probably going to have the mass appeal that New World will. Games like Blue Protocol, probably only in 2022 in the West. Yes, it's coming out in 2021 in the East, but not here. And honestly, the next great big hope, Ashes of Creation, is not going to be out anytime soon. I would suspect it won't even be 2022. I think we're looking at 2023 and beyond. So for me, it's exciting to have a AAA MMO experience coming out in 2021. And the fact that it has this action combat and it's got PvP in like a unique way. Yes, I think I would like if they had more reason to PvP that wasn't instanced. I'm not 100% sure if the game has gone a little bit too far by removing that system and just placing a toggle system in its place. I'm not sure if that's correct, but we'll have to wait and see. I have faith in the development team to, you know, tighten things down and get things working in a good way. But I'm personally excited for the game. So yeah, that's it really. I mean, for me, the key reasons that I just spoke about is that it's Amazon backed. That's going to mean that the game is financially supported. I'll be surprised if we see elements of like pay to win being added. It just doesn't feel like that's something that Amazon would want to have their name on. Yes, there are going to be microtransactions, but I suspect it's going to be cosmetic only. I also think that the action combat is going to be something that really could mix up the MMO genre in a very positive way. Now, if they get it wrong, it could obviously backfire and the game could be donezo in a couple of months. But, you know, I have my personal faith. And yeah, it is actually scheduled for spring of 2021. Now, it may not actually come out in spring. Is that the correct window? Maybe. If it gets delayed a little bit beyond that, I won't be too unhappy. As long as the game actually comes out in 2021, then I'll be a happy bunny. Let me know if New World is a game you are interested in. If you enjoyed this video, do like and subscribe. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.